Now, businesses. What kind of businesses? We're in a business right now. It's hard. It's hard to even find a niche business, and that's mostly what we can get. Now, most of it, even though they threw it out of schools a long time ago, I talked to some people recently who are in things like refrigeration, air conditioning, things like that. There's money in that stuff. Unless I've been misinformed, you know. And these are niche businesses. How do you learn it? Well, a lot of people don't want to go to school to learn it, so learn it. Just like some Vietnamese that I read about, I think it was in Reader's Digest some time ago. Couldn't even speak English. And he was homeless. He told the guy that he would do odd jobs around the warehouse just for food money. And just become a gopher. Just run, just do things. Because he couldn't speak English. He's from Vietnam. And so they kept him around there. Because he had one thing going for him, and this is something real important that all black people ought to think about. Because it was told to me by my father, who had a business, a restaurant, about a fellow that worked for him. They called him Jalopy because he used to work on old cars. Jalopy could not read and write. He could read and write his name barely. His name was Tom Carew, but they called him Jalopy because he worked on old cars. Couldn't help fix them. But he worked for my father and he stayed around there. And I asked my father one day, because Jalopy always messed up stuff. I was about 13 years old. I said, why do you keep him around here? Because he always messes up everything. He says, Neely, I'm going to tell you something about Jalopy. He has two things about him. He's just an old country boy. Said, he's always here and on time, and he won't steal nothing. Anything that he wants, he'll ask you for it. That was back in the 1940s. That stayed with me a long time. And I passed that on to a lot of people. I said, you go on a job, even if you don't halfway know what you're doing. I say, first of all, you be there. Be there on the job. And get a reputation for not stealing. You know, sometimes we just take for granted to say that. You know, I knew some guys back in the 40s, who said, man, hey, that's a pretty good job. And it pays $7.50 a week. That's what wages were back in those days. And all you can steal. Guys just automatically say that. Job pays $7.50 and all you can steal. That was a common saying. But there were some people like Jalopy who didn't steal. And therefore they stood out. And that works even today. All right? Some guy who's running something, even big businessmen who are stealing, they will notice that about somebody who works for them. That guy don't steal nothing. You know, everybody we ever had here stole. You know, that guy don't steal nothing. Keep him around. He's a little bit dumb. You know, you have to tell him things over and over again, because that's the way Jalopy was, you know. But my father, spotted that because he ran a restaurant, and he said, Jalopy won't take nothing. There's just something about him. He won't take nothing. So I don't care how much money you leave around, anything like that, he won't touch it. You know, what you call a dumb country boy. The next time I saw Jalopy, I was on my way on the back of a truck at Greenwood and Archer, on my way to the Army, drafted, getting ready to be sent to training to go to Korea. And I heard somebody call my name, and it was Jalopy. This was another town at another time, and he was doing well. But it instantly hit me, having a flashback to what my father said about him. I said, yeah, Jalopy would do well. Even not knowing how to read and write, he would do well. Because he's always on time if you hire him, and he won't steal nothing. You know, and somebody will notice that. And anywhere he goes, somebody will notice that. You know. In other words, Jalapa's the type of guy who, hey, the owner of the place when it's snowing and he can't make it in and all like that, see? You tell Jalapa to go down and open up, you know? Trust him with all the keys. Why? Because he won't take nothing, you know? Person like that, and that's the way this Vietnamese guy was, getting back to the central story. He came here. A lot of us been here for years, and he worked his way up to be assistant manager. Why? Because he was sleeping in the place at night because the guy trusted him. He got full range of the place. He's walking all over the place. During that time, he found out where everything was, which is people that worked during the day didn't know. So they always asked whatever his name was, Pam Son or whatever it is, you know. Hey, where's the so-and-so? You know, big warehouse. And he'd go up there and tell them. I'd take it right to it. See? Next thing you know, he became indispensable. Now, I'm saying all that to say this. This is the way we are going to have to become. Otherwise, we're garbage. In any situation where you are, you've got to find a way that you become the person to see. That's a slow process, and you might have to take it low for a while, but that is the process, and it's going to be that way. Because like I said, a lot of us are not going to be able to go into business because the niche businesses are drying up. You can't even hardly get a little stand on the sidewalk now. Really. I mean, just selling a few handbags and scarves. And if you try it, you can be outbid by some guy who's getting his from a wholesaler that you don't have contact with. Anybody who's tried it, is this correct? Anybody knows anything about a little business of any type you're trying to start? If anybody in this room now, if you're going to start a business, what kind would it be? There was a gentleman who was in here a while ago, and he was handing out cards. He gave me one. He's talking about internet consulting. All right? That's a business you can be into, but a lot of people are into it already. Okay? I know a few people in the niche businesses and whatnot, but it's going to get harder and harder. Because you know, if there's any money in anything right now, the white guys coming out of college paying $200,000 for having gone to college. Now, who's got that kind of money to go to school? That's number one. Okay? And so any businesses out here that's paying anything, they grab them. I started noticing that back in the 1950s. It's just slowly been going in that direction because manufacturing is going out. It used to be if you were from a place like Ohio or even from Baltimore here. Back in the old days, well, push come to shove, I go down to the shipyards, I go to the steel mill. I don't want to do that kind of work, but I can always fall back on that. And you had a cousin or an uncle working over there. You in Cleveland, Ohio, during the 1940s, lots of steel mill jobs, shipyard jobs, you know, where they made stuff, parts for ships and all like that. World War II was going on, the big one. None of that exists anymore. I'm talking to some people who've been in the corporate world, which you may aspire to get into. They say it ain't what it's cut out to be. Some of you might know something about it. I mean, you know. But I talked to a black lady who's what you call educated, and she says, hey, she just got kicked around, you know. All right. In that corporate world. More and more black males are finding that out. The young guys out on the street, they're trying to do hip-hop. That field is getting crowded. You know, you're going to have to compete with a whole bunch of people to the extent that some of the guys a few years ago, and still some of them still doing it, they're fighting each other, killing each other. You know, I mean, on account of your song's selling better than mine. I got to eliminate you. Everybody's got us in a rivalry now, like it's a football game. Okay? Okay, you know, everywhere you go, where you see black people, you see basketballs being bounced. How many of them are going to make it? looking for a job, where is it? I've been out of the job market for years. But if I was 30 years old now looking for a job, can anybody in here tell me where I'd be looking? I'm a black male, 30 years old, on the streets of Washington. I have a 11th grade education because I dropped out. Is it anybody in this room can tell me, if I had to go Monday morning looking for a job, where would I go looking? You know a place.
Home improvement, construction, working with some other people of color that'll hire you because they know you.
You name two things. Home improvement. What does that mean? I mean, I'm fixing to walk out this door right now, see, because, you know, so to speak. This is Monday in Washington, D.C., 2006. I got an 11th grade education. I got halfway through the 11th grade and I got disgusted and walked out. Now I'm looking for a job. I'm on 8th Street. I'm talking to you. You say, well, there's home improvement. What's the other you name?
Construction.
And construction. Now, can you give me anything further than that? Because, see, I don't know. I don't even know where to go. I don't even know who to talk to.
Oh.
Is there anybody that knows?
You would have
I've got one.
Okay.
You can go to one of the self-storage places and stand outside the front gate. And when people come to store their stuff,
Yeah.
sometimes they need help.
Oh.
I saw someone doing this one time.
Were the Hispanics doing it?
No, this was...
They were black guys.
Yeah, this was
Okay.
just one.
Because I'm a black guy.
He had figured out that
Right.
when people come there, it's self-storage places where you take your own stuff there.
Yeah.
And people get tired when they're trying to load their stuff in or get it out.
Mm-hmm.
So he would stand on the front and wait for and just ask people if they need help, and they would pay him, some money to help. Because a lot of times when you have to move, you find out who your friends are.
Now, wait a minute. Hold it. I've been around some self-storage places. First of all, I noticed there's not a lot of people around there. So how long am I going to stand around there waiting?
Weekends are probably...
There's a gentleman back there. Okay. Yes, sir.
I found out what somebody wanted to do, and then I would serve it. And I would make money, like I do that.
Okay. Now, we got a case history going here. I mean, Yeah. You do that now?
Yeah. No, I'm tired.
How do you go about doing that? I mean, do you hear by word of mouth or something?
I just open up my eyes and look and see what people want. And I know people want everything.
Hey, I started saying, I wasn't sure. I started saying that in some of the talks about 4 or 5 years ago. Because I got my cue from reading about this Vietnamese guy that just walked up and says, anything y'all got to do around here? I mean, a gopher job, And I ain't got no place to stay because the guy was homeless. Okay, and he couldn't speak English. Okay, so he just said, I'll do whatever. But he fooled around and got a job by starting out, just doing what you're talking about. So maybe that's what to do. See, we're talking about practical stuff. Because you got hordes of people who are dropping out of school, and you got hordes who are coming out with diplomas. Right here in Washington. Every one of these schools up here, from what the teachers tell me, is full of people. Except when they start dropping out and whatnot. Now they're on 8th Street, you're walking up and down 8th Street, you're unemployed, you dropped out of school, and you're black. And you're a male or a female. Now what do? You don't want to just keep doing that forever, and you're not going to keep doing it forever, because you got to go somewhere, you got to have support. You got to have things, okay? But you gave the cue right there. Because really, that's what you do see big buildings going up around you and all like that. People are doing stuff. And I ain't just talking about construction, all right? That is one thing, but there's a lot of Hispanics on there, and that's a whole lot, and I've heard people say, I've heard that this is what's being said. If you're going to hire people for construction, don't hire no black dudes, because they're unreliable. Hire Hispanics. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Say that black dude, he will make that first paycheck, and then you don't see him no more.
Yep.
They say, but that Hispanic guy, Pedro Gonzalez, will be out there in the rain,
Yep.
you know, and he'll be standing out there when, you know, it was 5 black guys supposed to be there, and him, Gonzalez, is the only one there.
That's right.
That's the way it is,
Yeah. Okay.
and it's understandable. Of course, once we get some money in our pocket, we figure, well, hey, I can do this again on another site when I need some money, okay? But you get a reputation for not showing up.
Yes, sir.
And then pretty soon, I mean, people know that, and then don't come around no more. Say, hey, you walked off the last time you was here, okay? Then another thing, not everybody wants to work construction. True? Yeah. And not everybody can, you know? But these are things even for the ladies to be thinking about where their kinfolks are concerned, or you know, even if you're not working, you got kinfolks that, you know, if you're going to tell your son or your nephew and whatnot, or your niece, what kind of jobs? See, because when I was going to school, it was just kind of understood. If you get an elevator job, you get a job running the elevator, and all that's automatic now. It used to be they were run by people. Hey, that's what you had to look forward to. I don't care what school you went to. Porter, you know, if you were really lucky, you got on the what is it?
Pullman.
Pullman porter. That's top of the line. For a black male, you're in heaven. They work you to death, but you're on that train and you're inside, right? And you yowza boss all day long, up and down that aisle. Yes, sir. You know, whatever you say, sir. You know. Nigga, bring me some more lemonade. Yes, sir. Right away. Grin from here, and that's a super job, going from town to town, Kansas City, Cleveland, Ohio. Every black lady, when she found out that the black guy is a Pullman porter, that's my man. My first girlfriend ran off with one. Rebecca, bless her heart.
How was the money? How was the money for the
The money was poor, but it was great for that time. And you're not you're inside. Hey, you're wearing a little white jacket and whatnot. That's big time for black people. When I was coming along, you know, that ain't nothing now, you know. But that was, hey, you were really something. Pullman porter's uniform, right? You're inside a train that's moving, and it's got food in there. And you're serving it. That means you eat too. That was a real bonus. And you're not outside driving rails. They got machines that do it now. You ever seen anybody drive rails? I don't think there's anybody in here seen anybody with a sledgehammer. Have you ever seen it done?
On TV.
On TV. I went to get a job like that once, and I looked at the guys do it for about 2 minutes. And I knew that I couldn't do it. I just knew I couldn't do it. You have to be as hard as nails to do that. You have to be super strong to do that. And you do it all day in 100-degree heat. And you're driving those spikes. And the guy next to you, his hammer is coming past your ear so close that it's whistling. And you do that day after day after day. And that's a top job that paid poorly. And many a black person used to do that. Steel driving man. They even wrote a song about it. It's called John Henry. Steel driving man. You know the spikes that hold the train track to the track, into the
like
woods.
This big.
That's what, huh?
The spikes are about that
Yes.
long.
And you got a huge hammer. The average person in here now couldn't even pick up the hammer. Not to say nothing about swing it all day. All right? Pure murder. And I used to see guys my size out there doing it. Because that's had to do it. Okay? I'm saying all that to say this. You might have to take jobs that you definitely don't want. But you got to start somewhere if you don't want to get in trouble. Because I was the type of person who did not want to be in trouble. I had fellows that I ran with that was in trouble. I didn't want to start that penitentiary thing at all. I didn't want to start that. And I didn't want to get on that treadmill. And I never did anything that would send me there for that reason. However, where I was, I could get sent there for doing absolutely nothing. So I was lucky in that regard, because that did happen to some fellows. They got hard time and hadn't done nothing. Just some white person said you did, and that's it.